It's time, man. Football's back. Enough is enough. All the wait is over. Been a long summer as we waited to get to this moment. We're finally here. Thank you for tuning in. A lot of love. Thank you for all the love you guys have been showing us as we've been talking a whole lot about winning time and the NBA and all the stuff going on over the summertime. We're glad to be here to discuss the NFL as it's now getting underway. Today's the day. We're here on Thursday as the games are about to get started tonight, and excited for all of on the way. A few questions we wanted to discuss, get our predictions in before these games get going, and are happy to finally be here to discuss it all. Before we really get there, Alex, just your first thoughts on NFL finally being back.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Should be a lot of fun. We got a lot of loaded teams in the AFC that should be kind of a bloodbath in that conference, and some teams that probably want some get back from last season. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun storylines going on. Some fun fantasy football, of course. We'll talk about that a little bit too.
Sure.
But I'm excited for it this NFL.
Hey, y'all see the tag? I've been gaming again. I'm expecting all Madden fades. Y'all can't see me. I'm letting you know now. If you're gonna come at me, make sure you know what you're getting into, because I know what I'm doing with that.
And they always talk about Madden being trash every year.
Madden is trash, but I still know how to make it work. So okay. I'm on there, and we'll definitely discuss that. Y'all can at me, and I'll send the tag over, and we can make that happen. But now getting back to the real things, excited for all that's on the way. I'm looking forward to this season, and the biggest discussion for us and to me, honestly, is the MVP race this year. There's been a lot of talk about Mahomes obviously leading the way, as he is the guy that continues to be the guy at the top of the mountain right now, as he and the Chiefs have been dominant for the last few years now. But there are a few other guys that are rising up the charts that are definitely of note. So looking forward to this race and how it's going to play out. And truthfully, with this picture here, it actually could be a two-man race. While there are others that are on their way in regards to Herbert and Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts, who burst onto the scene this last season. A lot of folks are looking at Mahomes, and my Baltimore guy, admittedly, though I got the Rams hat on. Shout out to LA, love both sides. Lamar's my QB, and many folks, even beyond my bias, see Lamar as a very viable MVP option with the revamped offense they have there in Baltimore, and believe he can go for it, make a run for a second MVP this season. Do you think it's a two-man MVP race this year between Jackson and Mahomes, or do you think there's other guys that could steal the award this year?
I won't say it's a two-man race. Lamar was my MVP pick last year, or the dark horse, but it was one of my MVP picks last year. I mean, I love his dynamicism as a player, and I think he has a better roster this year, and they brought him some more options, skill position wise in the passing game. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. New offensive coordinator as well, but I'd say it's more so everyone is playing for second right now with the level that Patrick Mahomes is on.
Okay.
Even if Travis Kelce is going to miss some time with the injury, we've seen him lose his wide receiver one, and it didn't affect anything at all. They honestly were better in some capacity as an offense.
Yeah.
So without Kelce for some time, I think they can still put up really gaudy numbers in that offense between Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And so I think Mahomes is still going to have an MVP caliber season. It's going to be who can threaten his MVP caliber season. And I think Lamar is one of them. I think Joe Burrow, you didn't mention, is one of them. His is going to be health dependent as well, too.
Sure.
I think Justin Herbert has been the sexy pick for a lot of people because they think the Chargers are going to be better offensively with Kellen Moore and more offensive weapons. And I understand it. We just got to see it. But yeah, I think there's a few AFC QBs I think that are potentially going to threaten Mahomes, but I think it's his trophy to lose.
Got it. So instead of a two-man race, it's a one name, and then everybody else is second tier. So yeah. I definitely could see that. I do think of that second tier. I do favor Lamar again, even beyond the bias of him being on the Ravens. There, I think what we've seen him do in NFCs in the past, what he could do. Now, if healthy, though, that is a caveat that has to be in place for him. With his health being a factor the last couple of years, I think if he can stay on his feet this go around, he definitely will push for another MVP trophy. So we'll see how that plays. I do what you have to say about the rest of the guys across the league too. There are a lot of dynamic players here that are continuing to emerge. But again, it's weird with the NFL. Like it's not fully a narrative league, but if the right guys, if they get the agenda behind them, can really that can get them over the hump. And we see a lot of folks Lamar is the talk of a lot of folks, and if he can really get off to a hot start, as many believe he will do, it definitely can carry him to the top and potentially even get him past Mahomes in MVP race. Though, as you mentioned, Mahomes may put on another great effort if Kelsey's going to be hobbled as he is right now. So looking forward to that. It's going to be very exciting to see how it all plays. We can go ahead and make an official pick. You have Mahomes as your official pick for MVP?
That's the safe one. I guess I'll go out on a limb and say if Joe Burrow stays healthy, I think he can edge him out this year.
As we do before with our predictions, you can make your main pick and your sleeper pick. So if you want to go Mahomes as your main pick, and then your sleeper pick is Burrow, I'm cool with that.
That's not even really a sleeper because I'm sure he's
high.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
I'm sure he's high in the rankings, but yeah,
sure. So I'm cool with that. Mine, I will say I do think Lamar can get the job done there with the revamped offense. There was a lot of hype, and seeing that they're fully giving him the keys finally, which is wild to hear as he already has had success in other offenses. Seeing that he's fully going to be, I guess, driving the boat, as folks say, I really do think that it can work in his favor. And then beyond that, I'm going to take a chance again on this dude. We've had our issues and concerns, and we had our hate. I'll say Herbert could finally get. They've been wanting. They're
the sexy pick, man. Everyone is bringing it up.
He not only is he the sexy pick, like they really want him to get it. Like bro, like here, like just take it, and he won't fully take the claim of what they desperately want him to. So not fully super pick, as you did say. There are a lot of, again, to the agenda's point, there are agendas in his favor, and folks do want to give it to him. But seeing how he has been up and down. I think that this can be the year with Eckler beside him, who is great, and we'll have discussions about later on. And the offense that if they can stay upright a little bit more than last season, I do think that he can claim that. So we'll see.
To your point about them wanting to give it to Herbert, I think another guy who we haven't mentioned has a tough schedule, but has a potential Super Bowl contending team, and is in that elite top three quarterback discussion all the time is Josh Allen. And I think that's a guy that they've wanted. Like, they started off the season, they wanted to give the MVP to Josh Allen. Like, everyone was saying Josh Allen is the guy this year. And he had his injury last season. His numbers dipped a little bit, had some inconsistencies, but that's the guy I feel like pundits and everyone like wants to give the MVP to.
Last year,
a tough schedule.
Last year, that first game was, I forgot who it was. They had a crazy
the Rams.
And they went off, I believe, in the game, if I remember correct.
Yeah, they beat the Rams.
They built up a whole bunch of momentum, so that played its part. So just seeing how they played the first game, like, if this guy keeps this up, he'll be MVP. But he didn't quite keep it up as the season went on. So it was what it was. And then with him, like, I've had my criticisms. I see him. Folks I've already have given him, they stamped him as the second best QB in the league for a couple of years. And we discussed it a few times, like Burrow clearly is ahead of him. Lamar is right next to him. Herbert may have to work his way, but folks see him nearby. Hurts is right there, and could be even viewed better than him as he made a Super Bowl run this last season. People had stamped Josh Allen as that guy for a couple of years, and it never fully appeared to be the case to me. So I think he still has some room to improve, to be honest with you. But if he does do that, then sure, I do think he has a great case also. So yeah, his name kind of somehow now almost got forgotten in the mix, but he surely is a name of note that needs to be acknowledged. So yeah, I can see it. Should be a fun one. Is there any dark horse names? Anyone beyond the quarterbacks or whoever that we acknowledge that you think could sneak into the race at all, or is that it?
That was gonna be my question to you, like, because we were talking solely quarterback. If there was like a non-QB player that you could see somehow, it's pretty much a quarterback award at this point. And offensive player of the year is typically where you get the wide receiver or the running back. But could you see a skill position player getting into the top 2-3 of MVP voting?
The three names that come to mind, one is a name, of course, but also for fantasy reasons. Justin Jefferson, I think, could get in the mix there.
Right.
While folks don't have full faith in Kirk Cousins, They do see what Justin Jefferson can do. And now with Dalvin Cook out of the equation as well, them having to potentially even rely more on Justin in that offense. We saw how great he was last year with superb catches and all the performances that he was able to put on. If he continues that this year, he definitely can make it. And if the Vikings win also, as folks see a potential decline from last year, if they can keep up their win rate, I definitely think that he will have to be in that discussion. In similar fashion, Christian McCaffrey, we have seen him do everything on the field at this point. Now on the Niners squad, where we respect Purdy, and some folks see Darnold as washed or whatever. The quarterback play is not highly touted, as we mentioned all the other guys in this race. So with McCaffrey having to potentially lead the way for the offense, if he continues to keep that offense up as the top offense in the league, as they were in discussion for last year, I definitely think he will deserve that. And the last one, in similar fashion to McCaffrey, if Eckler puts up a good season this year, it's possible that he can sink into the discussion. Folks, someone else going to bring up later on, but I'll bring it up now. Folks, I had a couple of fantasy drafts, and no fantasy is not fully mirror of real life. I've seen a couple of drafts now where Eckler's the number one pick over Justin Jefferson, over McCaffrey, over all these guys. And if folks see that Eckler can put on a grand performance in this offense, though Herbert will have a case of his own, he could be someone that sneaks in there with how high-powered folks hope that this Chargers squad is. So those are the three for sure outside of the QB spot. You agree with that? You got others in the mix?
I think I agree with that. I'm just kind of going through the teams and thinking about like the top skill positions of other teams. Like McCaffrey comes to mind as well too, just for the 49ers. He's probably the most talented offensive player on that team, even amongst all the talent that they have.
Yep.
And he's clearly better than his quarterback too. So he would be like the best player on that offense. So if they kind of run the table, I could see McCaffrey potentially being in there. But yeah, I think Justin Jefferson, in terms of wide receivers that are kind of like the guy on their team that could potentially sneak into an MVP race. I just think I don't think the Vikings will be good enough for him to be in that discussion.
Right.
In terms of just dark horses in general, potential other QBs, you mentioned Trevor Lawrence. I think there's potential there just because they could win their division and he could take another step forward too, as we saw him in the back half of last season. And then there was one other dark horse I had. I'm not a believer in Tua, but I could see how people could say Tua if he were to stay healthy.
Not Tua. What about Tyreek though? Tyreek went for 1 billion yards last year, so he's up that rate, and he did it with multiple quarterbacks. He did it with Tua when Tua was in, he did it when Tua was out. He did it with second string quarterback, he did it with third string quarterback. Whoever you threw in there, as the meme is, just chuck it down there somewhere. Tariq is gonna find it, and that truly was the case. So if he keeps it up, he could be in that mix.
That's fair. And then my last one was an old man, a man who loves ayahuasca. Aaron Rodgers, I think, is a sneaky dark horse for MVP. I think the Jets have a lot of hype around them. Some people are hating on it. I think I'm more leaning to the believer side of it than the hate side of it.
Correct.
I think what could hurt him is that they have a talented running back room in that offense. So it might not be him passing for close to 5,000 yards like Patrick Mahomes is going to do or whatever. It might be a more balanced scheme, but I think he's going to have a bounce back year from last year, and I think they're going to be pretty high in the AFC standings, and he's going to be a major reason for that because they had the worst QB room in football last year. So I could see him sneaking into top 3 MVP discussion too.
Okay. Don't want to stay here much longer. I do agree with all the names that you mentioned. Now we're just kind of throwing everybody out there at this point. On the last one, I will say you said old man. Folks, the name that people are trying to age, but he keeps on showing his youth, keeps on dominating out of the backfield. Derrick Henry is a name that folks have been trying to get out of here in a way for a couple of years now, and he keeps on showing that he still is him.
For sure.
Very possible on this Titan squad. AJ Brown's been gone for a season now. The quarterback room is still trying to figure out what's going on there. Diop was in the building, which could actually open things up a little bit more for him to dominate. So that could help him. Derrick Henry very well. I don't want to say this is last hurrah. Get into our joke. You want to say
not at all. I'm not going to say
for 3 years now.
I'm not going to say he's done
here.
till we see the decline.
Yeah,
like, he's
we
a
haven't
different
seen the decline
specimen.
yet, so it's very well. You do think Henry could this could be his MVP year finally?
Mhm. Yeah, it's possible. Like, he would have to have a spectacular season, a carry job for them, but
That's what he
he
does.
definitely, I think he definitely can, like you said, and D-Hop being there can help open things up, like AJ Brown did for them. So yeah, he's always in the discussion, no matter like how high of expectations we have for the Titans. He's just like that talented and that
Yeah,
much of an anomaly as an athlete that like he
yeah.
could potentially land himself there too. So yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out. Excited for the MVP race. Excited for all things NFL get here. Excited for tonight as these games get going. So